Okay, so joining me on the show today is A's minor leaguer Kyle McCann. First of all, Kyle, thank you for coming on the show. How have you been doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me on. Just out here in San Jose with the taxi squad, just getting some work in. So enjoying the time being right now.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about that, your time with the taxi squad. If you want to start with before that kind of became a thing, kind of the interim between when spring training got shut down and then until Major League Baseball came to all their decisions, what were you doing to stay in shape during that time?
Yeah, so I was in mini camp in February, and then March 13th, I believe, is when they sent us home because of Corona and everything. And then I was just had my little brother and then some friends who played, and we would just go over to the high school field, throw, and then there's also like a velo machine there, so I could catch off of it, hit off of it.
Yeah,
So I was staying in shape, and then I was lucky enough because my parents they have a gym in their basement, so I was
yeah,
able to use that to stay in shape. And then the minor league season was canceled, so I was like, great, what is going to happen? So I started declining my work, but I was still in shape. But
yeah,
before I was working out probably 4 or 5 times a week, and then I kind of went to 2, 3, playing playing lots of golf.
yeah.
And then Ed Sprague called me and was like, "Hey, you're gonna be on the 60-man taxi squad, gonna fly here, whatever." And I was like, "Cool, all about it." So started to ramp up again, and then now I'm out here getting better, being with the upper guys, some of the 40-man guys. So it's all a cool experience.
So tell me about the taxi squad. What does that look like? Because I don't think a lot of people know specifically what that looks like. So give us a little bit, maybe your day to day, who else is there, things like that.
So the day to day, you show up to the field around 8:39, and then the catchers and pitchers start at 10, and then the infielders and outfielders around 11. And then so you do your workout, you stretch, throw. Catchers will catch some pitchers, some bullpens, and then we'll hit BP on the field, and then usually we'll do like a 3-4 inning sim game with
Okay.
with all of us. So we get at bats. I mean, we're doing everything to stay in shape. So if they call on us, we're ready.
Okay. So how many other, just for a little bit of context, how many other catchers are there? How many other pitchers are
So at
there? Kind of
first,
what's the spread?
it was just me and Tyler Soberstorm, the first
Okay.
round that we just got, and then about a day before opening day, they sent down Heim and Perez. So there's 4 of us here now.
Okay. Got it. So, I mean, for you, how different is that than a normal minor league season? That may seem like an obvious question, but other than the fact that you're not playing normal games, is the work kind of the same? The people you're working with kind of the same? Is it more stressful? Kind of how does it feel to you?
I mean, it just feels like a spring training to me. I mean,
Okay.
this is technically my only first spring training, which I only got to get like a month of it in before the pandemic happened. But
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like the same to me. I mean, it feels like we're out here training for a season. I mean, it's just an opportunity for me at least to come out and get better. But for other people, I mean, they're wanting to get called up if someone gets hurt or gets the corona or whatever. So
Yeah.
there's some guys that are, all right, I need to stay ready, I need to go. But for guys like me who probably aren't going to get called up because you got Heim and Perez in front of me, I take it as an opportunity just to get better and improve my game. For hopefully next season, there will be a season.
Yeah. So for you, you're 22 years old, correct?
22, yes.
22. So you just got drafted out of college last year. Tell me a little bit about that. Got drafted in the 4th round. Going into that, where were you kind of looking at getting drafted? What was the A's kind of one of the teams you were looking at? How did that process kind of go for you?
Yeah, so we have winter meetings, and I was talking to the A's a lot, talking to other teams, and my agents were like, "You're probably going to go second round, maybe third." And then obviously I kind of fell to the fourth, and then Oakland called and was like, "Hey, do you want to sign with us and play?" And I was ecstatic about it, and here I am.
So going up, you played at Georgia Tech, right?
Florida Tech. Yep.
Okay. So how long did you play there? Was that 3 years?
Played there 3 years. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So with that, I mean, how much? Tell me about your time at Georgia Tech. Just give me a little bit about that. I mean, was that one of the places you wanted to go coming out of high school? What was a
Mhm.
little bit of your experience there?
So I'll go even before. So my summer
Yeah.
team I play with, East Cobb Yankees. I mean, if you look at the roster, 60% were going to Georgia Tech. So when I came in to
Oh
play with
wow.
them, 18U team, I was 16 or 17. So I knew so many guys that were going to Georgia Tech, and they spoke so highly of it. And then when I finally went down on a visit and met the coaches, I mean, I fell in love. So, I mean, it's close to home, good education, great to go into the pros after that. I mean, and I knew most of the people that were already going to be there, so it felt like the right choice and happened to work out.
So I mean, basically that travel team, that summer ball team, is kind of like a breeding ground for Georgia Tech. It
Yeah,
sounds
it
like.
honestly is. Like I guarantee if you looked up East Cobb Yankees roster, there's going to be at least 6 Georgia Tech commits on it. I mean, it's
That's awesome.
crazy. They literally call it a Georgia Tech feeder team almost. It's funny.
That's hilarious. So I mean, have you always been a catcher? Did you ever play any other positions in high
Always
school, or were
caught,
you?
always caught my whole life until I got to Tech, and then Joey Bart was there, which I knew going in. They were like, "Hey, you're probably gonna DH, play first, catch a little
Yeah.
bit." So when I got to Tech my freshman year, they were teaching me first, doing all that. They're like, "We want your batting lineups." I was like, "Cool. As long as I'm playing, I'm cool. I don't
Yeah.
care where I'm." So my first 2 years, I played first, DH, caught a little bit here and there, and then junior year, I caught all the games except for
Okay.
maybe. So I loved it. I mean, it's a great school, learn a lot, but I will say college ball is very different from a pro life
So
in the
what is the
way.
difference?
I mean, I would say the difference obviously is talent wise, but other
Yeah.
than that, I mean, the traveling, I mean, you're traveling through the night. I mean, it's like you play every day. In college, you play Tuesday and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Um, it's just, I mean, it's a different lifestyle, I would say. I mean, in tech, you're going to class, you're having practice, you're doing whatever. I mean, pro ball, it's every day. You wake up, you go to the field, you're there for 6 hours, repeat, and then you got a 10-hour bus ride. So it's more of a grind, I would say. It's more of
Okay.
if you want to do it, you got to have the mental mindset to do it.
So how hard is that adjustment coming out of college at 21 years old, being very used to that lifestyle, only even having been adjusted to, I mean, in college, you're kind of a professional, like you're there,
Mhm.
for the most part, I would assume you went to Georgia Tech to play baseball. You knew you were going there to play baseball.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even with that, you're kind of used to that lifestyle, but not a lot. So how was that transition at 21 years old, going to now a professional mindset, which you haven't been used to before?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I would say, I mean, I adjusted, but it probably took a couple weeks because at first I was worn out. I was like, God, my body's tight. I
Yeah.
don't feel good when I'm hitting or catching. But so that goes into like even deeper. So like now so before we even stretch or do anything, they make us do an active warm up to like get us going. So
Okay.
once I finally figured out what I need to make myself ready to play, it's changed tremendously. So now I'm not stepping in the box all tight, stretching my back out. I know the stretches I need to do in order to play like I want to play. So I think just taking the time to learn what my body needed to perform was probably the hardest part.
And how much of that is you figuring it out on your own? And how much of it is like things that are taught to you by other guys who have done it? So what I mean by that is how much freedom do you have at the beginning of the day to kind of do your stretches? Are there, because I know like you play high school ball, it's like team stretches, right? And I don't know
Mhm.
how much of that, like how much in college and professional ball is it you get to the park and you have like an hour to kind of just do your thing and be ready?
Yeah, so I mean they'll write a active warm up for you, like a base guideline, so you can
Okay.
follow that. But most guys that have kind of played and are higher up in the system, they already know what they need to do. So
Okay.
I mean, it just whatever you just need to know how to listen to your body. That's what I would say. I mean, know what's hurting, know what you need to do, and then I mean it'll work out in the long run. Because like if you if you start the season, you're doing great, you're kind of like, oh, I feel great, don't need to do this. It's going to catch up to you. And that's when you see those
Yeah.
guys in the season kind of struggling because they didn't take care of it in the beginning stages and it caught up to them.
So did you have that your first year in pro ball? Did you have a point where you kind of hit a wall?
Oh yeah, because I just came off catching a 60-something game season, so my body's already kind of tired, and then I get to pro ball and I'm doing all this. I'm like, oh my god, I'm struggling almost. But I got with the trainers and all that, and they helped me out a lot. But it was tough in the beginning, but I'm still learning as I go, and I'll be forever learning. It's a crazy game.
It really is. So how has the living conditions been for the taxi squad? Because I assume, are you guys kind of quarantined? Like you're supposed to stay in a certain realm of places, or how is that working for you guys?
So they have us in a hotel about a mile and a half away from the field, and we all have our own rooms, obviously,
Okay.
because they don't want us living with another guy because of it.
Right.
But they don't say like, hey, stay in your room. I mean, if we want to go out and golf, we can, but
Okay.
they just make sure like, hey, be safe, don't do anything stupid like that.
So is it weird living out of a hotel room?
No, it isn't. Ever since I got to college, going on road trips, I mean, it's kind of I'm used to it. It's kind of nice. I mean, make your bed every day,
Yeah.
nice sheets.
That's true. I
Yeah.
and this may be weird that I'm asking about this, but I just enjoy getting like the behind the scenes look. Because obviously if anybody wants to, they can dig into like your stats on the field or like what your pop time is as a catcher. But I enjoy hearing like the little behind the scenes things that kind of add up to your performance on the field, because anybody who's ever been an athlete knows it's way more than just how fast you run or how hard you throw a baseball
Oh,
or
yeah.
how good you are at hitting it. It's everything that goes into how, like, what kind of mood you're in going into the park and how your body feels. I mean, even just like sleeping in a different bed in a hotel could mess with it sometimes. So just a little reasoning behind why I'm asking some weird questions.
No,
So have you enjoyed being on the taxi squad? I mean, I know you said it's a good opportunity to learn and things like that.
yeah.
Have you enjoyed getting, like, are you learning things from you talked about the catchers that are above you. Are you learning things from them uh,
Mhm.
during this time?
Yeah, I mean, I'm learning things from everyone. I mean, it's just cool being out there with the guys that have had time in the league, and then there's guys that are right there. So it's
Yeah.
cool to kind of shadowing them a little bit and see how they go about their business because from watching them see how they do it. I mean, you can learn by seeing that. So it's kind of, I mean, when I was in Vermont, I didn't really feel like I was in professional baseball. It kind of felt like more of like a summer league. But
Okay.
being here with the taxi squad and you have all the higher up guys, the well known names. I mean, it just feels like I'm a big leaguer and it's a cool feeling.
So do y'all have like a lot of the higher level coaches, like are a lot of the AAA coaches the ones doing things with the taxi squad?
Yeah, it's Fran, the AAA coach, Ed
Okay.
Sprague, and then some other coaches. But for the most part, yeah, that's who's running it.
So two kind of generic questions that I have, that I enjoy asking a lot of athletes. So the first one I'm going to ask Kyle is, if you had to describe yourself to somebody, kind of just brag about yourself basically as a baseball player, somebody who may have never seen you actually play, give us a little bit of insight into what kind of player you are on the field, off the field. What do the Oakland A's have that people might not be able to see just by looking up your stats?
I would just say that I'm a huge competitor, and every time I go out and play, I'm gonna do everything I can to win for the team. So I'll just say the passion that I have for the game and the way that I play it is special. And uh, I mean, I love playing the game. I love competing with my teammates. So it's no better feeling out there.
So I mean, a lot of catchers turn into managers. So I'm curious if you've
Oh
ever
yeah.
thought about coaching or doing anything like that.
I haven't yet. I want to play for as long as I can, and then when that comes to an end, I'll decide if I want to make the bus trips again and being a manager.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
because even
Kyle,
being a manager, you're still doing everything a player does. You're still
that's
traveling.
true.
You're grinding with them. So I have a lot of respect to the coaches out there who stick around and want to keep teaching us because it's a huge deal. I mean, it's not an easy job.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that. I mean, they may not be playing, but they still get the taxing.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
they still
yeah,
make the lineups. Have to. I mean, it's a lot of stress that goes into it. So
yeah.
I don't
That's
take
a
their
good
job
point.
for granted.
So, Kyle, last question I have for you is if you could give us a story, so whether that be high school, college, pro ball, taxi squad, something like that, give me an interesting story that, again, we wouldn't be able to find on YouTube, we wouldn't be able to Google or anything like that.
Okay, I got one. It was actually this story is probably the one story that made me who I am today. So I was
Oh, okay.
probably 12, 14 maybe. And so I'm little, I'm a
Yeah.
kid. I'm still immature. So I'm playing and it's bases loaded, one out. And I'm struggling at the time. I'm not hitting so well. So I'm immature. I'm pissed off. I'm
Yeah.
showing it, body language, all that. So I grind out to the pitcher, bases loaded, and don't run as hard as I can to first, right? So
Okay.
double up. It was like a late in the innings, meant a lot. So my coach, Todd Green, who's actually a scouting director for the Arizona Diamondbacks, he chewed me out. My dad chewed me out. So from that, he sat me for like a week after. Didn't let me play.
Oh, wow.
Just let me wear it. So I mean, ever since then, I've hustled. I've ran. So I mean, I think that story is it because it made me feel so terrible. I was like, God, I just did that to my team. I can't believe it. So every time I play now, I play as hard as I can. I don't want to feel
Well,
the feeling again.
whenever you make it to the
Terrible.
majors, you definitely need to send that guy a thank you. Uh,
Awful.
be like, thank you very much for screaming at me and benching me.
Oh yeah, I tell you. But I'm glad he did it because if he didn't, who knows? I may have said. I mean, it's crazy how that works.
It is. Well, Kyle, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you very much for taking time, hanging out in your hotel room, talking to us. So thank you very much for coming on the show.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.